morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to Ace for Addict. For those returning, thanks a lot for coming back. For those who are here for the first time, just a quick breakdown. It's the story of my life through addiction over 20 years and finally finding my way to recovery. In book 17, I was talking about my life and drug addiction through Rosettenville, living in Rosettenville. But I want to stick to the promise that these videos are to help you get into the mind of an addict. So 2 stories I can tell you to show you that the mind of an addict is so messed up, even when it comes to other addicts. There's no such thing as brothers in arms, or an addict's code. We don't live by anything like that. It's a soul, chaotic, destructive purpose that we have in life, and that is to destroy ourselves once we get into this addiction. But getting back to the story, there was this day that myself and another addict were making our plans to get money, of course, for drugs, and we made our way through to Eastgate shopping mall to look. Like I said, I was a shoplifter, so I was going to go shoplift, and he was basically a con man. He was going to go con people out of money. So when we got there, we decided to split up. He'll go do his thing, I'll go do mine, and then we'll meet back at the taxi rank, because that's how we used to travel. So I went through to do my thing. I did steal 2 colognes. I don't remember what they were. There were so many of it all the time. And he went and done his thing, convincing people either that the SPCA needs help or that he's a rugby player for one of the private schools and needs money to go play in the first team. He was very good at what he done, as I was with shoplifting. So anyway, we went our respective ways. We made our plans, and eventually we met. We actually met walking out of the mall. He had made a couple of rands, so he had cash already. I had the goods in a bag. I was busy walking out with it. We were going to go sell it then. And we walked out of the shopping mall, and you had to walk across the road and wait across the road for where the taxis would travel from. And while we were standing there thinking, okay, now we got out, everything is good, we made it, I saw across the road at the shopping centre, I saw the security get onto a 4-wheeler motorbike. And we're talking far away, I'm right outside, past the gates, past everything, and they still inside. And I watched these security guards drive away. They drive, but their heads are more or less turned towards us, and they drive all the way up to another entrance and all the way through. It must have taken a good 5 minutes while I was standing there watching them. And I watched these guys until they drove right up to me, right next to me, and asked to see what is in the bag. Now I have no idea why I never tried to run, or not even run, just walk away before that, thinking that they might be coming to me. But it was so surreal. It was so unbelievable. I really didn't think any further than I've got what I need now, and that is it. So I didn't even bother going. By the time they got to me, I didn't even have a story straight, So they obviously forced to look what's in the bag. I tried to run. I tried to jump in the taxi, tell the taxi driver to go. Obviously he's not going to do that. So eventually he grabbed and pulled out of there, manhandled out of there, which is the right way to handle it. And they took me and they took this guy that I was with up into their cells where they hold shoplifters and whatever other criminals they catch at the shopping mall. And they held us there and they called the police. Now the point of the story is what happens in the cell. Like I said, I had stolen colognes, and the other guy had conned money. So he was sitting with cash and I wasn't. I did mention in previous books that it's best, if you're going to get locked up with money, so that you can at least buy a bed. And I knew that I was getting locked up. I'd been caught so many times, and at this particular place more than once. They knew who I was already. Yet my addiction kept on driving me back there, and this is why I got arrested so many times. So I asked this guy to please give me some money, because he could always go make some more. Give me some money, let me take it with, so that I can at least be a little bit sorted, because there's no way I'm getting out of it. Eventually the policeman had arrived, and they came and they knew me, they recognized me straight away. They didn't even talk to me. They just said, you sit one side. They knew exactly who I was. And with him, they spoke to him a while. He also gave a different name. He was in tears and crying and begging to be let go. It was his first time. All the type of manipulation and cons that drug addicts use. And they eventually said to him, okay, they're going to let him go, but I'm going to go get locked up. They left us alone for a little while. When they walked away, this is when I pleaded with him and begged him, please help me out with some money. You know that I'm going to jail now. Do you know that this addict would not help me? He wouldn't help me with 5 rand. He wouldn't give me a cent of his money that he had made. And that is the point of the story. An addict has got no code. So 2 addicts together, it doesn't mean that they help each other out. They do not. You're always in it together to score, to gain from the other addict. It's always about yourself. So people who are caring for addicts and that, please know this. For an addict, it is always about himself. It's always about the next drug. It's never about anybody else around him. It doesn't matter who it is. It can be a best friend, it can be a sister or a brother, it can be your child. None of that will come into play, and it will not take any preference over what you need. You need your drug, and that is all that you care about and all that you think about. The guy that wouldn't give me money, I don't hold it against him. I don't hold it against him for 1 second, because I would have probably done exactly the same thing. If it was me in that position, I wouldn't have just given him money when I knew I could take that money and go use. Why would I give it to him? So that is the mind of an addict. Evil, wicked, selfish mind that thinks about nobody except his next drug. On another occasion, also, just to end off that story, that story, at the end of that, when I got arrested, I ended up spending 6 months in jail for that. I sat 6 months in jail for that crime, and yet when I got out, I started using straight away again, straight back to Rosettenville, used straight away, and still friends with that guy, or still making plans with that same guy. It didn't faze me, it didn't faze him. I was just happy to be back out and be having my drugs again. Then in the second story, again, myself and somebody were about to make a plan. It was early in the morning, it was 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, so things were really difficult, and we happened to get hold of just 50 rand. It was just enough for 1 bag, it was just enough, and we needed it, so we quickly went up. I didn't know anybody that was available at that time, but he knew somebody close by. We were in a rush, so we went to this guy, and he said to me, alright, this guy's very, very suspect of everybody, I must just wait for him. He's just going to go in and get it quickly. So I waited outside like an idiot, and he went inside, and I waited, and he never returned. He never came back. So eventually I started knocking and shouting to get in, because now I'm really feeling it, I really need it. And the guy comes out and says, no, he left long ago. So stressing and panicking and swearing all my way back to the flat, to the Nigerian's drug den. I'm thinking about this and what could have happened, and when I get back, there he is. He had already used, sitting there so high, already enjoyed it, and what can I say and what can I do? That was that. Obviously they were swearing and fighting, but I let him go in there with the money without thinking about anything, and he robbed me. He just robbed me, or took advantage of me. And again, take note, this is an addict's mind. We don't care. Our drug comes first, and everything else comes second, third, and fourth. A little while after that, or I'm not sure in which order, but once again I had to go to rehab. I decided to go to rehab, and I made applications and all for Hands of Compassion, and I booked myself in there. Hands of Compassion was for 6-month treatment. And so I went ahead and booked myself into Hands of Compassion. Luckily it was successful, and I managed to get into that rehab. I'm going to talk about that rehab in the next book. But just to say, yes, I went to Hands of Compassion. It was a no smoking rehab, so we weren't even allowed to have cigarettes. I had no issue with that from the moment I got there. For the first 2 weeks, I didn't crave a cigarette, I didn't need a cigarette. I knew I was there, I kept myself straight and narrow, and I was doing all the right things. The rehab was unisex, so there was also females there. It was for destitute pregnant women. So they'd be allowed there, I think it was during their pregnancy, and then 2 months after they had the baby, they could be there if they needed help. So I became friends with a lot of those ladies. Again, I was well liked, and I used to love the little babies. I used to look after them and watch them while the mothers ate. And yeah, it was, I really enjoyed it, but I'll talk about that soon. I'm not going to stretch this video out. It's already on 10 minutes. So I'm going to leave the rest for the next book. Again, and this will probably get repeated in all my books. I tell addicts all the time, don't think it's too late to recover. It's like I've grown this fear, of addicts that I don't know, that are going to give up. I don't want them to do that. I know how close I was. I was so close into just calling it a day and forgetting and leaving everything. So when you think you can't do it, you can, and just keep on trying. I also want to say, I've been trying to post a lot on Facebook as well to get my story out there for people to hear that recovery is possible. And if you have a look on Facebook, you'll see how many groups there are. There are so many recovery and addiction groups, and stay sober, and all of these type of things. And yet, if somebody like me wants to post my story, that people might benefit out of it, the posts get declined. So there's not much help in that way to try and motivate, to be there for people. They allow you to comment and say, well done, but for them to actually see that you've lived a life that they're busy living, to actually see that although you lived that life, you got out. Facebook doesn't give you that opportunity to share a link. It's like they're so afraid that their business gets directed away from them to somewhere else. So yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed about that. But again, if you know anybody that needs help or just needs the inspiration and would get something out of these videos, send it over to them, let them have a look, and tell them to be free to share it to anybody that they may know. It could really help. I will ask, please subscribe. If you go to my channel, A is for Addict on YouTube, subscribe. By seeing the subscriber number go up, I get to see that I'm helping people, that people are interested in hearing, and that they are getting something out of it. And I really appreciate that. Thanks again for coming back. Look forward to doing the next book. It'll be about rehab at Heads of Compassion, and probably a bit more about Rosettenville. And once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for spending the time with me and having the patience with me. Thank you for understanding that my timeline is not always right. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate you just being here. Thanks a lot, and have an awesome day. God bless. Cheers.